Education Coalition. And we are so excited that everyone could join us today to celebrate early educators for the important work they do supporting our youngest children and families. So welcome to all of you. Please introduce yourselves in the chat. We'd love to know who you are, who you work for, and why you care about worthy wages. So share your ideas and comments there. And we will check the chat along the way today and see if you have questions as well that we can answer. So this session will be recorded and we'll send out all the handouts from the session as well. So thank you again. We are going to kick off the day because we've got a lot to do in just a little bit of time. So here's our agenda for today. We are so excited that we have several very prominent special guest speakers with us. We'll be hearing from Governor Roy Cooper by video and then directly from many of our state's leaders in the Division of Child Development and in the state legislature. So super excited to invite them here to this space today. We're also going to hear from the field, from those of you who work in early childhood education. So we'll hear from a distinguished group of early childhood leaders that are in the field every day working for children and families. And then we're all going to move into breakout rooms where we'll have some great discussion about why we should all be thinking worthy wages for worthy work. And we'll get back together right before the close of the session to hear what you're all talking about. And then we're going to kick today off with a big day of action. So you'll have lots of opportunities and hear about that later. So next slide, please. I'm going to just give you a little bit of an overview of why we are so committed to this work at the North Carolina Early Education Coalition. And we know that North Carolina depends on the early childhood workforce. Every day, early educators are building brains. You are the brain architects. I love this quote by Adrienne, right? We are brain architects building the future of tomorrow, and our wages should reflect our value. So we know that high quality early education, starting with babies, lays the foundation for future success in school and in life. And childcare teachers are the key. You know, whether they are teaching and working with infants, toddlers, or preschoolers, you are the workforce behind the workforce. North Carolina's families just really can't get to work every day unless they have reliable, quality childcare that they can trust and know will do their best to partner with them in raising up our youngest children in our state. And we are so grateful to you. All of the childcare teachers, all of the childcare programs have been on the front lines of the pandemic since the beginning. You've risked your own health, your own lives, your own family livelihood to care for young children and families. Next slide, please. So, you know, here's a profile of the early education workforce. It's not something that we should be proud of. All of this comes to us from Child Care Services Association's, you know, stellar workforce reports that they do every few years. We are grateful to them, and you can find out about your own county from their website. So we know that across the state, childcare teachers make an average of $12 per hour. That's only an annual salary of less than $25,000. That is not enough to support and raise a family in today's economy. Even though 62% of our teachers actually have a higher ed degree, right? So they've gone to school, they are professionals, and yet they're making such low wage. Even in the middle of a pandemic, you know, 1 in 5 teachers has no health insurance. And 40% of our workforce says, you know, they rely on some form of public assistance. They are that poor. And one of the most, you know, striking statistics is that childcare teachers are 7 times more likely to live in poverty than public school kindergarten teachers. That is not right. Next slide. So we know that for way too long, you know, our early educators have been undervalued and underpaid. You can look across the state and see that 71 counties pay less than $12 an hour, pay less. And in 20 counties, the average wage is just $8 to $10 per hour. So, here we hear from so many teachers what Katie is saying. I cannot afford to live on the measly wages I am paid and have to rely on assistance and a second job to survive. This is a teacher with a bachelor's degree. And we know in an already underpaid and undervalued field, infant toddler teachers are paid the least. So our babies teachers, when it's 80% of brain development is being developed there between 0 to 3, they're paid the least. And yet they might have the most important job among all early educators. So next slide. Consequently, North Carolina has a workforce crisis. You all know this. We know from research and statistics, 1 out of 5 teachers expects to leave the field within the next 3 years. We know that the talent pipeline is shrinking. Fewer young people than ever are pursuing a degree in early childhood. And we know that at the heart of it, professional compensation and benefits are needed to recruit and retain a high quality early childhood workforce. We hear from childcare teachers every day who are struggling to pay their bills, working multiple jobs, and I know they're going to have to choose, if they haven't already, to leave a job they love to be able to support their own families. That's what Crystal is telling us. She had no choice but to leave this occupation. Just this week, we heard from a childcare director who said she has such a long waiting list at her center. She's been open all through the pandemic and now has a waiting list, but she can't expand. She can't serve additional families because she can't find teachers who can afford to work for them. And we know that during the pandemic, many teachers left, right? They didn't have their jobs. They went to work in Walmart or Target or retail or for Amazon, where the starting pay is $15 an hour. So it's no wonder we have a workforce crisis. Next slide. But guess what? You all know this. We can solve this problem. We can solve this crisis for our teachers, our providers, and our families. We can do it by increasing compensation and benefits and turning early childhood education into the viable professional career it should be, it must be, for our children's sake, for our family's sake, for our state's future and prosperity. So, we're looking at the Child Care Wages Program. Many of you know this program. It's a salary supplement program, designed to increase education and retention and compensation. And if you look at this map, you'd go, wow, it's pretty widely available in North Carolina. Well, actually, it is. It exists in 58 counties, I believe, thanks to the support of local partnerships for children. That is how this program is funded right now. Smart Start funds this program. But the program is hardly to scale. Last year, only 3,800 early childhood teachers, just 14% of the workforce, even participated in this program. So our goal at the North Carolina Early Education Coalition is to take this program statewide. All 100 counties should have this program, and that's what we're fighting for. So that's just a very quick overview about why we work for worthy wages for our early childhood workforce. And you have this information from us in so many different ways. And now, with that really brief overview, I'm going to turn to introducing our special guest. So it's my honor and privilege today to introduce 5 of our state's amazing leaders for early childhood education. I'm going to introduce them all very briefly, and then each one of them will have a few minutes with you. So first you'll hear from our distinguished governor, Roy Cooper, who's here today via a special video that he produced. Next, we'll hear from Ariel Ford. She is the director of the Division of Child Development and Early Education. Ariel hails from Western North Carolina. She has an amazing early childhood background. She's worked in Delaware and the mayor's office in Chattanooga. So we are thrilled to welcome Ariel back to North Carolina in this role. It is my honor and privilege to introduce some legislative champions to you today. Representative Ashton Clemens is from Guilford County, District 57. She is an educator and co-chair of the Early Childhood Caucus. She was a co-sponsor of House 574. That's our child care rates bill, which sailed through committee yesterday. Thank you, Representative Clemens. And next will be Representative Julie Von Hafen. So Representative Von Hafen is from Wake County, District 36. She also was a co-sponsor of House 574, our rates bill. She's a champion for childcare in the workforce. She's done so many amazing bills. They're just incredible. And last, we'll hear from Senator Mike Woodard. You can always count on Senator Woodard from Durham County and Granville in person, District 22, 5 terms in the Senate to speak out for children and families. I had the pleasure of hearing him speak specifically about the value and importance of early childhood education and why he's working for the workforce and all of early childhood providers in our state. So with that brief introduction, we're going to turn right now to Governor Roy Cooper. Angela, you may have to start over. We're not hearing any sound from Governor Cooper. Do you want to try again?
Yep, let's try that again.
Hi, everybody. Governor Roy Cooper here.
Better?
Get it.
Closer to turning the corner on this pandemic, I want to take a moment to recognize how critical childcare providers have been to our state's efforts to fight this virus. Thanks to them, healthcare workers can treat patients, first responders can be there for their communities, and farmers and grocery store workers can make sure there's food, all while knowing their children are safe and learning. We already know that the pandemic has emphasized just how important our child care providers are to our state's future. On average, child care teachers earn just $12 per hour, and 1 in 5 of them don't even have access to health insurance. That's wrong. If we want to build a stronger, more equitable North Carolina, we must invest more in high-quality early childhood education with qualified teachers who have health insurance and are paid like the professionals they are. That's why my budget proposal includes $26 million to support early childhood workforce by expanding the child care wages program statewide so that teachers in every county have an opportunity to increase their education and compensation. It's also why I'm fighting for Medicaid expansion, which can help these teachers get insured. It's time for North Carolina to invest in early childhood education more and in our workforce. And I look forward to working with you to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Cooper. He is such a champion and has an amazing budget. So he kind of undersold his budget for early childhood. When you take a look at it, it's much more above 100 million in so many different ways. So we're lucky to have Governor Cooper as our state leader. So next, we're going to hear from Ariel Ford from the Division of Child Development and Early Education. Ariel?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. So as Michelle so kindly introduced me, I am a native of Buncombe County. So I grew up in the wilds of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I came into early childhood many, many years ago as a summer camp counselor. That was my introduction to the field. And when summer was over and I was unemployed again, was able to get a position at a childcare program in Asheville. And so I spent many, many years as a 2-year-old teacher. While I was a teacher, I always had a second job on top of being a full-time teacher. And I almost always had a side hustle on top of the second job just to make ends meet. So Worthy Wages is not just a campaign to me. It's just not a nice thing to do. I understand that without an attention to the compensation that you deserve as professionals and that you deserve because the roles that you are in build our state, build our communities, and support our families, that your work is, it has to be valued, not just with kind words and not just with a sweet Christmas present, but with a compensation package that matches your abilities, the complexity of what you do, and the degrees that you've earned. So I could go on and on. Michelle told me that I can't go on and on because there are other incredibly important people to speak to you today, but I'm so encouraged by the attention that's being given to early childhood education and to the work that you do as teachers every day. I'm so encouraged that from our governor to the legislators that are here today, to our partners in Washington, D.C., our president and Congress, that the pandemic showed a spotlight on what we already knew, that you're the backbone of our communities. And I have more hope now than I ever have that we are going to bring about the promise of early childhood education and compensate you accordingly. So thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me speak a few words. Please let me know how I can continue supporting you in your communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Aren't we lucky to have such a smart director of our division who's also got such a big heart for this field, and she comes from the field. So thank you, Ariel, for what you do every day. And now it's my great pleasure to turn to our North Carolina General Assembly and invite Representative Ashton Clemens to speak to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm turning on my video briefly because I'm driving to Raleigh, but I didn't want to miss being with you all. I am so glad to be with you. My journey to caring about and working and fighting for early childhood actually started as a kindergarten teacher. I was 21 years old and shut my door in my first kindergarten classroom, believing in the importance of kindergarten as the starting point, air quotes, of education for our kids. And what you learn very quickly, and what I learned very quickly, is just how big the chasms for so many of our children are already by the time they get to us, which got me looking at what happened before they got to us and all of the things that you already know by being in your classrooms every single day is certainly impacted and supported by research about brain development, which is 85% of the way done before they're 3, and the return of our economic investments on supporting early childhood. So very simply, that is why when I got to the legislature, I knew it would supporting the early childhood holistically and specifically within their workforce was something I was going to work on and have done so. As Michelle said, we've started a bipartisan bicameral caucus to advocate for early childhood issues and have made some progress. But my overwhelming feeling is that you, the people who are building the future of our state, both individually and economically as early childhood the workforce, very simply deserve better from the state that you are building. And I will continue to be working for that better in my role as a legislator. And I'm just so grateful for all you do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Clemens. And it's just amazing to see you going to work in Raleigh. I saw you there yesterday championing House 574, our rates bill. So we know you're working so hard. And we have to let everybody on this call know that it was really through your power and imagination and vision that we have the Early Childhood Caucus. So thanks to you for your leadership. To have a bipartisan group of legislators focusing on young children and families is just so appreciated by all of us. So thank you, Representative Clemens. Drive safe. And next, we're going to hear from Representative Von Hafen, Julie Von Hafen from Wake County. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I have been so happy and honored to work with Michelle and the North Carolina Early Childhood, Early Education Coalition since I've been in the legislature for the last couple of years. Early education is a thing that's close to my heart as a mom of 3 young children, and I love that Ashton is driving because she has 3 kids as well, and so we commiserate a lot about being moms and legislators. But I'm so happy to work with her on all these early education issues. Really, in the last year, we know that COVID has obviously highlighted our economy's reliance on childcare programs and on you guys, on childcare workers. And that's why I've really worked in the last couple of years to help support childcare wages, the childcare industry in general. And that has really resulted in the filing of 2 major bills that we've been working on last session and then this session. And I just wanted to briefly tell you a little bit about those. Last year, I filed a bill, House Bill 1117, that would have supported childcare workers during the pandemic and getting out of the pandemic, appropriating $120 million, which is really what was needed last year to support childcare programs in North Carolina. And I really filed that bill because I understood that childcare centers face unique challenges. They were there every day working while a lot of people were able to stay home or not work during the pandemic. But early education workers kept going to work, and they needed the supports and the money to support that work. And I think Michelle said, it's not just saying thank you, it's putting our money and our resources behind the industry and saying, like, this is why we value you, and we know that you need this funding in order to keep going. So that funding would have basically extended that payment of hazard pay that I know a lot of childcare workers were getting. It would have provided, more equipment and more cleaning supplies, which I know was really hampering the industry because of those additional costs and the reduced enrollment that a lot of centers were seeing during the pandemic. And so unfortunately, it did not pass, but I still feel like it's really important to keep talking about these issues and keep filing bills like that so that we show North Carolinians, how important you are and how important it is to, like I said, put your money behind your accolades about how important it is. So Michelle's mentioned a couple of times a really important bill that's going through the General Assembly right now, and that's House Bill 574, which is our childcare subsidy rate bill. I loved that the industry person that came to testify yesterday said it was the most important bill for childcare this year. And the reason that is because we know that low subsidy rates are a long-standing problem. We know that those low rates cause your small businesses to operate at razor-thin margins. It causes the low wages that we're here to talk about today. And so this bill would increase subsidy rates all across the state and allow providers to provide that high-quality education, that high quality care for our families, and it would also enable them to increase wages across our state. And so we were really excited to draft the bill in a bipartisan way, and we're running it with 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. We have very high hopes that it's going to be part of our budget this year. And so we encourage everyone to reach out and to your legislators and say how important the passage of that bill is and how important it would be to include that in this year's budget. So I'm so excited to be working for you guys every day in the General Assembly, and thank you for using your voices to help us pass legislation like 574 and increase wages across North Carolina. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Von Hafen. What an amazing champion, legislator, and advocate Representative Von Hafen is. You can hear the passion and heart in her, and all of the bills she's already sponsored and working so hard for. So, thank you, Representative Von Hafen. I have to say, as a woman, I loved seeing that quote behind you in your office: the women belong in all the places where decisions are being made. That's why we know we're talking about a majority women workforce here, right? Who need to be at the table, raising their own voices, saying how important their work is. So the rest of us know that as well. So thank you for your tireless efforts, and everybody. Hope you heard the Let's Move House 574 forward. So we're working together on that. So we are still awaiting Senator Woodard. He's also at the legislature, where you can see all of our legislators are there or heading there today. So we're going to wait for him to join us. And when he does, we'll invite him to speak to all of you. So he's on his way, but not here yet. So we're going to move along in the program and turn next to hearing not the breakout rooms, but voices from the field.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna Nelson, and I'm the North Carolina Early Education Coalition's Executive Director. It's been so inspiring to be with all of you today. I, too, am a former teacher. I'll never forget my first paycheck. I worked so hard to get that teaching job, and when I got the first paycheck, I cried because I knew I wouldn't be able to cover my bills with it. So this is a really important topic to me personally. And like both Representatives Von Hafen and Clemens, I also have young children, 2 of them, who are in licensed care. And it's incredibly important to me that their teachers are well compensated as well as they care for my children and educate them during the day. So we have some additional folks today who are going to share their stories. Some of our early educators who are here with us are going to talk about why wages are important to them. So we have 3 speakers today. Essence Walker is an infant teacher from Leaf Spring School in Charlotte. Davina Bolden Woods is the director of Excel Christian Academy in Burlington. Cindy Osborne is the early childhood program head, instructor, and advisor at Stanley Community College. And then we also have Paula Klein, who is the executive director of the Alexander County Partnership for Children. So I think we are going to get started with Davina. Davina, are you here and ready to speak?
I am here and ready to speak.
Go ahead. Thank you for being with us today.
Outstanding. Thank you guys so much for having me this morning. Of course, I always count it a privilege when I am able to be amongst like-minded individuals. I thank you guys for all the work that you have done on behalf of the profession and the work that is yet to be done and that we will continue to do as we work towards a worthy wage for all of our practitioners. Now, I'm going to give a little caveat and say that the beautiful chaos of childcare is absolutely surrounding me at this moment. And at any time, it will crescendo and spill over on this Worthy Wage Wednesday, on Cinco de Mayo, on Teacher Appreciation. So there's a lot going on behind me. Please, I apologize in advance if that does indeed, that joy spills over, but I will not be before you long, okay? Thank you guys so much. So, as a child care provider, like many others in the state, we are indeed facing a workforce crisis right now. And the workforce crisis, I must say, is not because of education. It is because of low compensation. Now, while this is not a new problem, the pandemic has indeed made it substantially worse and cast a spotlight on what was already a real and prevalent issue throughout the profession. Now, my team and early educators across North Carolina, they work hard every day to provide high quality education to the young minds of our state. And during this pandemic, they have continued to rise above the challenge every day, exceeding expectations and risking their own health and the health of their families, all while receiving much less than a livable wage and very few benefits, if any. Now, I am a fierce advocate for my girls, and I do everything I can to support them. But my program, like many, we do operate on razor-thin margins. The current wage structure for the childcare workforce is based on what parents can afford to pay. Now, you couple that with the fact that 87% of my student population receives subsidized childcare of some sort, and there is no profit margin. It is well known that neither private pay nor market rates cover the full extent of the cost of providing care. So without significant public investment, there is no way that I can afford to pay my teachers more and keep my doors open to serve the children and families of Alamance and surrounding counties. Now, teachers that are indeed a part of my team, they are highly qualified. Again, I say qualifications have not been the issue. It has been the low wages. I believe that it is absolutely essential to have an educated staff who are able to provide the best and most optimal outcomes for children. Now, as many of you know, recently we had 3 teachers graduate from Alamance Community College here from our program, and they all received their associate's degree. Their story has indeed been highlighted throughout the state, and we are extremely proud of their accomplishments. However, when you look at the big picture, it must be realized that if I had 3 teachers to graduate from ACC, then prior to their graduation, that meant that I had 3 teachers who did not have degrees. Please ask me how I ended up in that predicament. It is because what the same story that many programs are able to tell for themselves. I had many of my teachers who I indeed had mentored and ushered and supported through obtaining education. One of my, and you're not supposed to have favorites, but there is a teacher that was indeed and still is near and dear to my heart. When I hired her, she had a high school diploma. Again, through mentoring and coaching and educating, all of those things that great administrators are supposed to do. She went to Alamance Community College and too received her associate's degree. She exceeded those expectations and went to North Carolina A&T State University and received her bachelor's in child development and family relations. She graduated in December and in January accepted a position at a high school. Better compensation, benefits, and I could not blame her. That is the story that you are going to hear across the state in multiple programs. I am not an anomaly in that sense. This is our struggle. And poverty level wages are not a recruiting strategy. The entire nation had just been able to witness exactly what was required of the childcare workforce in the midst of a pandemic. We were asked to rise to the occasion and continue to keep our doors open, knowing that our staff received very low wages. And again, most did not have health insurance. However, because it is that we do what we do, not for the pay, but because of the passion, my ladies showed up every day. So we're going to continue to lose our teachers time and time again if we do not change the dynamics, if we do not change this narrative. Now, I was doing an interview with Liz Bell, and she asked a very poignant question, one that I had not been asked before. And she asked me why I remain in the field if indeed there is no money to be made here. And I literally had to take a moment to just exhale and really be reflective in answering that question. And the reason that I remain is because I am a product of what can occur when you invest in just one early education teacher. Cindy Ring, an assistant director long ago, 25 years ago, took a chance on a 19-year-old with a high school diploma. As Becca, the director, was out on maternity leave, Cindy took a chance on me and hired me as a school age group leader and a van driver. That was my first foot in the door of early care and education. Since then, I have been a teacher in an infant room, a toddler room, in pre-K classrooms and school age classrooms. I have indeed been the cook. I have drove the van. I have been the director, the administrator. I am now the owner. I opened a family child care home. I am the product of my local Smart Start who helped me equip my home with developmentally appropriate toys. I am a product of wages. I received wages, and those wage supplements helped me pay my bills when my paycheck could not. I am a product of Teach. I indeed received my first degree from Alamance Community College. I received my second degree from North Carolina A&T State University. And come Friday, I will receive my third degree from the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, all thanks to Teach. I am the product of what can occur when you invest in one early childhood educator. Just imagine if we put money into investing in the entire field. So that is why I remain. That is why I'm still here, to ensure that everybody and anybody that will listen knows that it can be done. It is more than a worthy wage. It is a livable wage. It is more than a livable wage. It is an equitable wage. It is a wage indeed that is worthy, that is livable, and that we deserve for the work that is done. So I leave you with this. While my circle of concern is much greater than my circle of influence, what I will say is that my daughter is a senior in high school, and they get the privilege of having their class meetings each week and announcing where they have decided to go to school. One of my daughter's classmates, Sam, she has been really struggling with where she wanted to go. And last week, she had the opportunity to announce what college she had chosen. Now, I did not understand it at the time. However, when the college counselor called on Sam, with tears in her eyes, she said, "I will be attending Wake Forest University in the fall." And the college counselor asked her, "And what will you be studying?" And Sam said, "Physical therapy." And literally a tear dropped from her eye. I was perplexed as to exactly why that occurred. So spoke to the college counselor to see if there was anything that I could do for Sam, only to find out that the reason that Sam was shedding tears is because Sam wants to do no more than work with children. She wants to go to school to be an early educator. And because of the wages, because of the pay, her family has indeed said what many say: "We will not pay for you to go to school for 4 years, only for you to graduate and not be able to make a livable wage." And so Sam, at the most joyous time of her life, is sad because she cannot do what it is that she wants to do, what she's been called to do, what her purpose is. And so that is the influence and the effect of not putting money into the profession. We not only do we not have a pipeline, we are diminishing every aspect and prospect that may even want and wish to come and work in this field. So I encourage us, and I pray that this is the last worthy wage celebration we have to have. And in 2022, we can have a worthy worker celebration, because we have checked the box on worthy wages. Hey, I'm Davina Woods. That's my 2 cents.
Davina Wood, thank you for your 2 cents and all of it. I mean, you are getting such accolades and appreciation for your work, for your all of your comments in the chat. I wish we could spend so much more time with you, but thank you for the awesome job you're doing. It will always remain with me, a line you spoke: poverty level wages are not a recruitment strategy. Thank you for what you're doing. We are going to go back now to Senator Woodard, who has joined us. So Mike Woodard from Durham. Senator Woodard, thank you for listening to Davina and spending some time with us today. I introduced you before, but I want to say in front of you what an honor it is to have you with us today for your long service in the Senate, where we can count on you to always speak up for young children and families in early education. And so appreciate all that you did when you were debating 570, and you stood up for the workforce and the importance of high quality early education. So thank you, Senator Woodard, for being with us today. And with that, here's the floor for you.
Michelle, Senator Woodard actually had to run back to the legislature. He was called back to work, as you know, busy.
Okay, well, I thought that might be the case. But anyway, I thanked him twice. He's an amazing senator. Please, if you have a chance, send him a little email today thanking him for being with us, but he couldn't stay. He's a very busy senator. All right, I'm going to kick it back to our speakers, and our next speaker up is Essence Walker. Essence, the mic is yours. There you are. Welcome.
Oh,
what a champion you've been for us. I'm glad you could find time to be with us today.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Essence Walker, and I'm a teacher here in Charlotte. I've been in childcare for over 22 years, and I absolutely love what I do. It's my passion, honestly. It's a demanding job, and because of the COVID crisis, it's become a little harder for us teachers to kind of navigate our way, but it's truly amazing just to watch my babies learn and grow every day. But their earliest years are just so important, and I just love being part of their lives. But it's hard at the same time, especially since COVID. My little people don't know how to social distance and, cover their sneezes. So it's just, I've been putting my own health at risk. And then, my biggest fear of bringing it home to my own family, it makes it tough. And then, having education and training and the many years of experience that I have, I know what it takes to do my job, very well. And I want to do the very best for my babies and my families as well. But it makes it tough not being able to have a livable wage, in a sense. I've contemplated leaving the field several times, to be honest, just because trying to make it for myself, being a single mom with 3 children, having to forego health insurance because I needed every penny in my paycheck to make it to the next paycheck. And it's tough in that sense because, again, love what I do. But it's hard when, you have to decide on certain things to make it to the next paycheck, and knowing that what we do is just so important. We're building that foundation for the next step for my little people to then go to preschool and then go off to elementary. It's like we especially as infant teachers, we provide that, that important foundation of just care and love so that they can grow. And, it's really hard because we don't feel valuable when, we don't make wages as opposed to somebody that can just work at Target or Amazon. And I feel like our work is it's super important, and just wanting other people to know how important we are. And, we were told how essential we were during, beginning of COVID and everything throughout. And we've always been essential, but people started to take notice, but they, don't realize just how important early educators are. We invest so much time, so much love, so much energy into our children and into our families as well. It's not just with the children, the whole family is super important to us. We just want people to understand that we're here, and we just want people to hear us. I've had so many coworkers leave throughout the years that I've been in early education, leave because they just can't make it. And we can go someplace else where you don't need degrees and make, more money, and then being able to live. It's just, just want people to know that it's super important. just to give us a living wage. I won't take too much time. I've got to get back to the classroom and my babies, but I just appreciate you guys having me. I want to stand up for worthy wages, and I know I've got coworkers here that, as long as we can, we'll, speak out on the worthy wages and just how important it is and how valuable, it is to us, and bringing more teachers in, like Miss Davina was saying, who was an amazing speaker, by the way, how important it is to bring in that new workforce. It's those young ladies that are out there and the young men that are out there that, have that passion of wanting to work with young children, but you stop yourself because, or, you have family that stops you because you just can't make a living and, a living wage working in early education. And it's so sad because it's such a rewarding field. Again, I want to thank you guys for having me. This was wonderful. Take care.
Thank you so much, Essence. It was so good to have you. Give those babies some snuggles for us. We all know how important the work is that you do. We are going to hand it over to Cindy Osborne now. I know I saw her earlier. Cindy, are you here and ready to speak?
I am here.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Davina and Essence, for your passion. And I just want to let everybody know what I'm about to share is my opinion, and I'm not speaking as a representative of the college. But community colleges, our goal is to focus on the workforce development. And when it comes to early childhood, it's getting harder and harder to attract people to the workforce. Just as Davina and Essence have shared with you, the talent pipeline is shrinking. Participation in early education programs in North Carolina has declined in the last decade to nearly 50% drop in enrollment. Fewer people than ever are pursuing a degree because of low wages, and it's hard to recruit a new generation of early educators. Just last week, I spoke with a teacher and a counselor at a high school. This particular teacher is teaching Child Development 1 and 2 in the high school in our county. And they said that they mostly try to steer students away from going into early childhood education and moving towards K-12 because they know that they can't earn a living wage. So this is directly from a high school counselor and a teacher that teaches Child Development 1 and 2 in the high schools. They try to steer them away. We are working so hard to try to meet the needs of the professions. We have stackable credentials. We have certificates across the state where it's 5 to 6 classes to get a certificate. So there's so much that the community college is doing, but it is harder to attract when you have, as Davina shared, families, but we also know high school counselors and teachers are discouraging students from coming into our workforce. That's about all I can say, but thank you all for including me on today's conversation. I've been totally inspired and even a couple of tears. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Very similar. I have been moved to tears as well today. It's been, and thank you to Representative Von Hafen. We definitely need to align salaries for all of our educators, regardless of age. I am going to hand it over to Paula Klein, who is the Executive Director in the Alexander County Partnership for Children, and she's going to bring to us some information about how these low wages are impacting an entire community. Hi, Paula.
Hey, thank you, everybody, and thank you for the privilege of getting to share some of the struggles we're having here. And I just want to say all of you speak to my heart because this is my passion too. I come to this field from a totally different field. I switched streams because of the importance. And then, of course, the low wages whenever I was teaching was happened to me. I've experienced it. That's where I'm at. It's hopefully to give some voice to others too. So personally here, like the partnerships all across the state, I know not just ours has really worked to support the programs and the families during the COVID crisis, but it has really wreaked havoc specifically on our programs because we were already struggling before the pandemic. Most of our center classrooms had wait lists, if not every classroom had a wait list. At the beginning of the pandemic, our five-star center our largest five-star center permanently closed. And then just recently, we had another center that tragically caught fire and burned, and they can't afford to rebuild. So the reason we were in crisis before all of this happened was the workforce shortage. And of course, in the workforce shortage is specifically based on the wages. And then we have all of these parents. So I'm listening to parents and providers and brought to tears frequently over the parents not being able to find quality care, and the providers are not being able to hire staff. So I just want to share a few quotes quickly from some of the providers that have shared with me. We keep in regular contact, and just in the last week, here's some of the statements some of I've heard is that one is, I can't even get anyone to come in for interviews. They find out how much I can pay and then they're not interested. Another one is, I don't understand what's going to happen when there is no childcare because we can't get people to work. Another one is, I have a waiting list of 85 children and we can't help them, and I feel their pain and in their hearts. And the last one is, I just had another person put in a notice to go to work somewhere else making more money, and I haven't found anybody to replace the last two people that left. The remaining staff are on their last thread, and I wouldn't be surprised if more quit. If that happens, we're going to have to make some hard decisions like we've never made before. And how do you choose between the children and the families? Which ones get to stay and which ones you can no longer keep? And all of the directors are working in classrooms right now. So I know these challenges are not unique to Alexander County, and it's happening all across the state, but something's going to have to be done to support the providers and the families where it's just not sustainable, where the wages aren't going to come soon enough. And I just don't know how long our workforce can hang on. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to give voice to those providers from Alexander County.
Thank you so much, Paula. It's we all share a passion for this field, definitely, and really sad stories. Again, like you said, it's not only Alexander County, it's all across the state. So thank you for all of our amazing advocates for sharing their experiences and their challenges. We are so grateful that you are still doing this important work, even though despite of the low wages. And we're really working hard to try to correct that and fix that. So now we want to hear from the rest of you. So we are going to split you all up into breakout rooms for some small group discussion. So there's going to be 4 questions, and your group will have about 5 to 6 minutes for each question to talk about sort of different aspects of this workforce crisis. So someone from each group will need to volunteer to report back to the full group. So once you get into your small group, let's figure out kind of who will do the reporting, and then the coalition staff, each room will have one of us there to help facilitate. So keep a few things in mind. So it's an opportunity to brainstorm. There's no right or wrong answers. Remember to stay positive and respectful, appreciative of everyone's experiences. Be sure to make your voice heard by participating, but also make sure that you step back and let others participate as well. So you really want to hear from all of you. And we will just only be able to take about 20 or 25 minutes to do this. And so we look forward to, again, going to the small groups, having some discussion, coming back and reporting out, and then talking about our day of action. So our team is going to put you into a breakout room. So just make sure you hit yes when you are asked to go. And we will see you in about 20, 25 minutes.
Okay, we weren't watching the clock in our group. Here we are back. So Mary, if you've come back to the main room, I was tracking what you were talking about, a career pathway and ways to move up in the industry. So Thank you. The group I was in had amazing conversation. I hate to cut it short, so I'm sure that was happening everywhere. So now we're going to just hear back from a few groups about what you talked about. So on any of those 4 questions, what are some of the things that were just resounding comments and strategies about what we can do to lift up the workforce and increase the pipeline? So Marcia, why don't I just call on you since that was our group, and then we'll just pass to another group, because I don't think we actually had names like Bluebird Group or anything like that. So Marcia, do you mind being first up?
Which one of the 4 questions are we working on?
Any of them. Anything
Any
you'd
of
like
them.
to share, because we only have 5 minutes.
Okay,
So.
I'm going to quickly say challenges were huge. The high turnover, public benefits, the losing of great staff like we heard, reducing the number of classrooms available, impact on the children because of the loss of continuity of care, can't find substitutes. Counselors aren't sending people into the field, and actually the job is getting harder. But we came up with some strategies also around educating awareness of regular people, like moms and dads who don't understand that, the teachers make such a small amount of money, that we need to have public money. The field is not subsidized. Way too much focus on pre-K, forgetting that we actually have birth to 3. We need to engage the K-12 field in our story because they're not going to be successful if we're not successful. Family childcare also is hard, and they make even less, and they're also educated. We have apprenticeships that we're looking at, using workforce funds so that it's not just CCDF, expand Medicaid, work with the high schools and CTE, and let's show a career pathway.
Wow. Okay, Marcia, you get to do this the next time. That was amazing summary. Okay, let's bounce the mic to another work group. I don't know who else is willing and ready to share, but go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ginger Thomas. I'm right behind Marcia. We hold hands lots. She's one of my big bosses, but our group came up with much of the same. Some of the stuff that I didn't hear Marcia say. There's some research that's come out recently about the reduced birth rate. And some of that probably can be attributed to the cost of early care. Excuse me. We also talked about trying to make sure that we had supportive work conditions, because there's so many teachers that function working, 40 hours a week with no planning, no, ability to do what they need to do to be teachers. We talked about hiring bonuses as well as retention supplements as possible things to bring people in. I think that was.
That's awesome. And I appreciate that you added new things. I want to tell you, somebody told me yesterday that instead of calling them bonuses, we need to call them grants. That might make legislators more excited to hear about these things. So hiring grants, retention grants. I'm trying to retrain myself, so I'm passing that tip on. Since bonuses seem to be taboo, but we don't know. So anyway, group 3, I don't know who that could be. So
that could be us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tiffany. I work with Jenna, I believe.
Okay.
And I guess we're just going over the different things that we talked about. And we also spoke about not being able to create or have a good talking point during recruitment, being able to offer a bonus or a substantial amount of money doing the hiring of a teacher, being able to not being fully present while being at work, the teachers not being present based upon public assistance, because that was one of the questions of the teachers earning $12 and having to depend on public assistance and being late to work or missing the bus, and they're being stressed out before they even report to work. We also talked about public investment, where the public is helping with the investment of the teachers and the voter strategy. Can't afford, and doctors, teachers not being able to afford to be sick, healthcare. One of our teachers in the group spoke about a teacher being sick, one of our directors, and not being able to afford her copay to go to urgent care, and just basic needs of care. You know, knowing that we are important, we are essential workers, and the fast food industry is paying $17 an hour. You know, where we're paying 12.
Wow.
Also, the North Carolina workforce shortage, you know, is we're recruiting, reporting to essentially making the staff have burnout, and this making ratio problems within the classrooms. And you know, the teachers need to have rewarding growth and inviting benefits for them to be hired and to stay, to retain them in the classroom. And the policymakers are focused on focus on increase of the minimum wages. I'm sorry.
Minimum wage.
I apologize
Thanks
for the top.
No, thanks for bringing that up. Tiffany,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you to hold your thought, and because we only have a few minutes left and we've got one more group.
Okay.
Thank you though, and we'll catch your notes somewhere, maybe offline here. Do we have the last group who wants to add something new?
Yes, hi, group 5.
Oh, great, group 5.
Lots of common things, but one of the things that we talked about in terms of consequences is the number of pop-up illegal sites that are happening in our community, and then in turn increases in perhaps chances for neglect and abuse, and how parents, as they're struggling just to make it through day to day, they can't put all the pieces of that puzzle together. And so that's something that communities are grappling with kind of behind the scenes. In terms of some potential solutions, our group thought, you know, let's take a page out of the lesson book from DPI, some of the structure that they have in place for their teachers, where teachers can move up through different steps and be recognized accordingly, and then all the way to like the master teacher level. Why can we not replicate something like that for the early childhood sector and get those different types of awards tied to increased experience as well as educational levels, and allow the teacher to not only receive, you know, increased compensation, but increased prestige, being able to be that mentor, being able to be the one that charts out lessons plans for the 2 classrooms, all of those types of things. And we also talked a lot about bonuses, and definitely love the phrasing of the grants, the hiring and retention grants.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa, and giving us that DPI framework to take a look at. So I am going to make an executive decision here, even though I'm not the executive. And I know we're leaving one last group out, but we want to make sure we get to the day of action. So I think, Elaine, you're going to lead us with that, and Cassandra will close us out. And could we get the last group to share some of their highlights in the chat with us so we don't miss you?
Yes.
Apologize to run out of time here.
Yes, loving all of these ideas and strategies. Please put them in the chat. Angela, you can go to the next slide. I am so inspired and motivated after listening to all of you this morning and hearing from our policymakers about their support for this issue and people who are living this work every day, and just your passion. I'm overwhelmed by it, honestly. And so we are so grateful to all of you for being here. And I want you to all take this passion and energy and inspiration and put it into action right now. Hitting your inbox in about 30 seconds will be an action alert to tell North Carolina legislators to invest in the early childhood workforce. As Michelle said earlier, I think this is crunch time for budget season. They are hard at work right now, and this is when we have the best opportunity to influence them. So I'm going to put this link in the chat now. It'll be in your email in just a second. Please call your legislators today. Call them first, then email. We do have, our Action Center will have a pre-written message that you can send, but please personalize it. Share some of the stories that you told today. That's the most effective thing you can do when you talk to policymakers. And then spread the word. Help us raise this issue to the volume that it deserves to be heard. Post on social media, share with friends, your family, and colleagues. Angela, next slide. Just quickly, we've got tons of resources to help you do that. So if you haven't already seen it, we do have a campaign toolkit full of talking points. We've got fact sheets and social media posts and all these things that you can find. So if you're not sure where to start, that's a great place. But now to close this out, I want to turn it over to Cassandra Brooks, who is just one of our biggest champion advocates in our state. She's owner and director of 2 childcare programs in Wake and Johnston counties. And I'm gonna leave it to her because she can say all of this better than I ever could. So Cassandra, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Thank you, Michelle and Jenna. Thank you for having me this morning. I don't know about you, but just hearing all of everyone's words, their interjections, it just has me fired up. I don't know about you, but we have been through a lot this past year. Everyone has talked about, exactly what is needed for the young children and the families and the teachers in North Carolina. Our time is now. Enough is enough. We must take action. In my group earlier, I talked about, I had just on yesterday, a teacher who did not have enough money to even be seen at an urgent care. It wasn't a COVID related symptom, but it was a symptom that needed doctor's care. She ended up in the ER last night. My heart sank. It reminded me of a previous situation when I lost a teacher. Enough is enough. We cannot go back through this again. We are important. We have showed the world that we are important. We are essential. So it's imperative that you share this action alert with everyone. Share it with your friends, your parents, your mom, your sister, your teachers, everyone. Let the legislators, let North Carolina policymakers and legislators know that enough is enough with childcare, and we need to see compensation move forward in 2021, and we will see compensation move forward. Thank you again for joining. Thank you again for all of your insight, and we will see change happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. We will see change happen. Everyone take that energy and go take action right now. Action alert is in the chat and in your email, and we appreciate all of you joining us this morning. Thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing to work together with all of you throughout the Worthy Wages campaign. So thank you so much. Go take action and enjoy the rest of your day.